everyone. My name is Patrick Miner, and I am an epidemiologist with CDC Zambia here in Lusaka, Zambia. I've been here almost 4 years. As a matter of fact, tomorrow will be my fourth year anniversary. I'm going to do a presentation on World Diabetes Day, and this would have been last Friday, but we're going to record it today for future reference. But we're going to talk about diabetes for a little bit today, and at this time, I'm going to set up the presentation and go from there. Okay, November 14th was World Hepatitis Day. World Diabetes Day. Sorry, I gave you the wrong thing. As mentioned, my name is Patrick Miner. I work here at CDC Zambia in Lusaka, and we're going to talk about diabetes. And why are we going to talk about diabetes? Diabetes is what we call a non-communicable disease, NCD. It's a non-communicable disease, which means that you can get this disease. You can get it by your own behavior and decisions that you make. You don't get it from someone else. What is World Diabetes Day? World Diabetes Day is the largest diabetes awareness campaign in the world. More than 100 countries participated in this awareness campaign in 2014, of which Zambia is a member. Also, is led by the International Diabetes Federation, and as I mentioned, Zambia is a part of this federation. It unites diabetes globally, community together for diabetes awareness and advocacy. Now, as you can see in this picture here, we're going to talk about some of the things that can affect diabetes or the ability for you to get diabetes, such as healthy living and other decisions as well. Now, what is the history of World Diabetes Day? It was created in 1991 by the International Diabetes Federation and the World Health Organization, WHO. The blue circle logo was adopted in 2007 and is the global symbol for diabetes awareness. So what this presentation is going to do is going to talk about diabetes basics. You'll notice that there's a symbol there for the American Diabetes Association, which I adopted part of this presentation from their website, and a lot of the information that you'll see will come from them. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what is diabetes. We're going to talk about diabetes management, diabetes on a global scale. We're going to talk about diabetes in Africa, and then finally we're going to talk about diabetes in Zambia. So at this time, we're going to show a video that talks about the basics of diabetes. So I want you to just pay attention to the video, and it'll give you a better feel for what diabetes is all about.
Diabetes is a disease in which glucose, or sugar levels, are above normal in the blood. Most of the food we eat is turned into glucose that our bodies use for energy. The pancreas, an organ that lies near the stomach, makes a hormone called insulin that helps glucose get into the cells of our bodies. When you have diabetes, your body doesn't make enough insulin, or it can't use its own insulin as well as it should. This causes glucose to build up in your blood. There are several types of diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the body does not make insulin. In type 2 diabetes, the body does not use insulin well and may not make enough insulin. This is the most common form of diabetes. Gestational diabetes happens when a woman's body does not use insulin well while she is pregnant. It raises her risk for type 2 diabetes and raises her child's risk of getting diabetes. Diabetes is serious. Over time, high blood glucose levels may cause many health problems, including heart disease, blindness, kidney failure, and foot sores and amputations.
Okay, I hope the presentation was helpful. It makes a case why we need to talk about diabetes every year if possible, because it's something that we have control over, and a lot of it is driven by diet and the things that we eat. So we're going to talk more.
Happens is that the diabetes they tell you is a chronic disease. So this is what.
So what is diabetes? Diabetes is a disease of development. And the misconception is that it's only persons who are older, who have a lot of money, that can get diabetes. But it's a pandemic, and in the coming years, we have much to do in making a case for those who have diabetes now and who will have it in the future. And that was said by Sir Michael Hurst, the president of the International Diabetes Foundation. Diabetes is on the rise all over the world. It's on the rise in the United States, it's on the rise in Zambia. And so there's a growing concern. It's something that we all should pay attention to. So, what is diabetes again? Diabetes, uh, what happens, the body does not make or properly use insulin, which naturally occurs in our body. And insulin is needed to move glucose from blood cells into, move from blood into cells for energy. And if insulin isn't working properly, high blood glucose results in energy low levels that are low, dehydration, or even other complications. So when we talk about type 1 diabetes, as was mentioned in the video, we might be talking about an autoimmune disorder, insulin producing cells which are destroyed, daily insulin replacement necessary, or age of, and if you're talking about age of onset, it could usually begin in childhood or young adulthood. And the most common types of diabetes are in children and adolescents. Now, this is type 1 diabetes. So, in other words, the onset could be relatively quick. Before you know it, you could have some of these symptoms. And the symptoms include increased urination, you could have tiredness or weight loss, increased thirst, where you're just thirsty during the day. You can have increased hunger, dry skin, blurred vision. And what's the cause? Sometimes it's uncertain. Sometimes it's both genetic and environmental factors as well. When we talk about type 2 diabetes, we're talking about the first step of what happens with diabetes, where your body becomes insulin resistant. And the age of onset for type 2 diabetes is most common in adults, but it's increasingly common in youth due to people being overweight, being inactive, or genetics, or also the race of the person as well. So when we talk about type 2 diabetes, with the age of onset, it's variable, but it's a variable time frame for children. You notice we're talking about children. Some of the symptoms include being tired, thirsty, hungry, increased urination. Some children show no symptoms at diagnosis. Others are symptomatic with very high blood uh, glucose levels. But one thing that we need to take note about diabetes is that diabetes, once you actually are diagnosed with diabetes, it is managed, but it never goes away. It's managed, but it never goes away. That's why it's important that we understand what causes diabetes so we can avoid it altogether and hopefully not have to experience diabetes at all. But the goal is to maintain target blood glucose levels. So when we talk about diabetes management for those who are already diagnosed with diabetes, it's a constant juggle and it's a 24/7 struggle. So we might be talking about medication, we're talking about physical activity, but also we're talking about food intake. And food is very crucial when we're talking about diabetes. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important that we talk about it, because a person has a lot of control over what happens and what causes diabetes and whether or not they will ever experience diabetes. When we talk about diabetes on a global scale, if you look at the numbers here, it is estimated in the world that there are 382 million people with diabetes all over the world. And you look at the United States, we're talking about 37 million, South America, 24 million. Look at Africa. We talk about Africa, we're talking about 35 million in Northern Africa and 20 million in Southern Africa. And you look at Europe, 56 million, and also 138 million. But it's possible that 46% of all persons with diabetes have not been diagnosed with diabetes yet. So that's a big concern. But imagine 382 persons all over the world having diabetes. That's a big number. Now, when we're talking about Africa, let's just talk about diabetes in Africa. As you can see the numbers there, the higher percentages are those in the purple or the maroon burgundy color. You see those numbers. You're talking about South Africa, Namibia, and is that not Mozambique? That's Malawi next to it. But Zambia is right there in the middle. Zambia is in the middle. It's not the highest. It's not the lowest. But you can see the numbers there, and this is how things have changed over the years. So when we talk about the total population, we're talking about almost 888 million in Africa, but that estimate would go, of course, much higher. But you can see diabetes and how it will increase for the regional prevalence from 4.8% to 5.3. So everything is estimated to increase. The number of people with diabetes would be from in 2013, it was estimated that it's 19.8 million, but it will be almost 41 million by 2035. So it will more than double. So we all have some decisions to make in terms of what we do to make a case for not having diabetes, or if we do have it, to manage it and maintain it better as well. So let's look at diabetes in Zambia. That would be a big interest to all of us. If you see the dotted line at the top there, you see how the estimates are for the world. If you look at the dark black line, that's Africa. But look at Zambia. Look at the numbers for Zambia. In 2014, there were 266,900 cases of diabetes in Zambia alone. That's a lot of cases. What else does this projection suggest? It suggests that when you look at the world, the prevalence is much higher. The prevalence for diabetes in adults is much higher the older the person gets. But in Africa, there's a slight decline after the age of 60 to 64. But in Zambia, the reason why the number goes lower is because also in terms of the age of longevity here in this country, in terms of how old a person will live, if they were to live longer, then this would be a good projection of how diabetes would be in this country. So this was World Diabetes Day around the world, and you can see some of the celebrations that were happening. It's a beautiful celebration all over the world. It was November 14th, which was Friday, but this we can talk about diabetes any day and not just on November 14th. So I'd like to say Happy World Diabetes Day to all of you. Thanks for listening to the presentation, and I hope it's been helpful. I'm going to give you some links as well. We don't have time for questions because this is a recording, but hopefully you will do some research and you'll find out more information about diabetes on your own. And I don't think there's a website. There was a website that I given, but you can also look at the website www.diabetes.org, and you can get more information about diabetes and the role that you can play. We didn't spend time talking about diet, as of course a lot of us consume enshima in Zambia. That is a carbohydrate which could cause, if you consume it too much without getting vegetables and having a balanced diet, could cause you to get to get diabetes, along with bread and other starches and other things that build up the sugar content in your body. So I hope this has been very quick, but I hope it's been helpful. And I really appreciate you listening as well. I just quick stop sharing. So it's quicker than I thought.